Reagan Robertson here with Productive Dentist Academy. Get ready to join your favorite podcast hosts, Dr. Bruce B. Baird, Victoria Peterson, Dr. Chad Johnson, and myself, Reagan Robertson, at the nation's #1 dental business course that guarantees practice growth. That's right. Full immersion CE, so you can consistently produce more and align your team for results without compromising excellent patient care. Productive Dentist Academy has a special running this month that you can activate immediately. It's called the PDA Productivity Bundle. And we put this together so that you could attend this workshop, which is happening September 22nd to the 24th in Frisco, Texas at the Hyatt Regency, along with tools to make sure that not only are you getting great education on how to increase your productivity, how to communicate better with your team and your patients, increase your case acceptance, authentic market practice, and more, you also get a 2-hour business advisory session before the workshop to really get clear on what matters to you most so that you can be set up for success at the workshop. And following the workshop, you get 12 months access to PDA on demand. That is the entire productivity workshop on demand for you to make sure that you are doing everything you can in your power to soak up all of that CE and implement it come Monday morning, the next month, and the next month, and the next month for 12 months down the line. Registration is now open. The tuition cost is $2,195, which is ridiculous because it's regularly $5,528 for the productivity workshop attendance, 2-hour business advisory session, and 12 months access to PDA on demand. Hop on over right now to www.productivedentist.com/workshop to grab your registration today. Again, that is www.productivedentist.com/workshop. If you cannot wait and you have to have it right now, email Brent, B-R-E-N-T, at productivedentist.com. That's Brent, B-R-E-N-T, at productivedentist.com, and we will save you a seat. I look forward to seeing you there. Welcome to the Everyday Practices Podcast. I'm Reagan Robertson, and my co-host, Dr. Chad Johnson, and I are on a mission to share the stories of everyday dentists who generate extraordinary results using practical, proven methods you can take right into your own dental practice. If you're ready to elevate patient care and produce results that are anything but ordinary, buckle up and listen in. Welcome to Everyday Practices Dental Podcast. I am your host, Reagan Robertson. And if you could see me right now, you would see the biggest smile on my face because I have with me today our co-host, Dr. Chad Johnson. Hello, Chad. How are you?
Hello. You look like Maui sunshine.
That reminded me of the Teletubbies sunshine for anybody who had parents.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little sun. So put that in your heads, listeners, today. We have a very special guest. He is a personal friend of mine and a fantastic partner in the dental industry, Shawn Zajas. Welcome to our podcast, Shawn.
Wow. To think that I'm actually here with both of you guys is quite an honor because you both won my respect completely independent of each other. So it's just kind of cool.
Likewise and equally, buddy.
We are not Siamese twins. We're a little not physically connected, just mentally connected, perhaps.
When I found out you guys were doing a podcast, I was like, how is it that Dr. Johnson and Reagan, like together, yeah, you guys have like the best insights, and it just must be, I don't want to say entertaining, but entertainment while you learn, you know?
For sure, it's serendipitous. I'm glad that we're together
We like to provide good, clean fun. So Shawn, you are the CEO and founder of Zana, and you are also a podcast host as well. Your podcast is The Authentic Dentist. Is that correct?
Correct, which could mislead someone to believe that I am a dentist, but I am just partnered with an amazing dentist out of the Phoenix area, Dr. Allison House. And she's pretty much the reason why I'm still in dentistry, because probably like 5 or 6 years ago, I was kind of like running into lots of dentists that I didn't know how to connect to because everything was fine and they were just crushing it. And it just seemed like they had these egos that I couldn't get past to connect to who they were. And I met Dr. House, and she was just so.
Yeah, that's president.
Yeah, and that's where meeting you, Chad, like same exact way. It's like you're successful, but you don't have this ego around you. You're just really vulnerable and transparent. And I just really appreciated that
Thank you.
Out of dentists. So yeah.
That's a really interesting point, Shawn, because I think I am in a little protected bubble. So coming into dentistry 11 years ago, I was immediately surrounded by PDA dentists, productive dentists. So my assumption was that they are all the same. They are all super focused on patient experience, patient care, being the best versions of themselves that they can be, humble, open, eternal, like learners, always curious. And the first time I went kind of outside of that environment and saw what was on the other side of the fence, I was like, oh, there is ego at play. And that makes sense. I mean, that comes with a lot of hard work and earning the doctorate and all that, but it's always surprising to see that. So I'm glad that you are connected, and your co-host is someone that is equally humble, and it sounds like has all of the beautiful attributes of our productive dentist ecosystem. So you, Shawn, are very passionate about, I like how your podcast is called The Authentic Dentist. You're really passionate about authenticity and bringing that into this industry. And one of the questions that we were kicking around right before we started recording here today was, when is a cleaning not a cleaning anymore? How do we differentiate dentists so that they can be seen for who they are and attract the right patients that they deserve versus being seen as a commodity?
Yeah. And I think ultimately, like, it's such a challenge that dentists actually have today, right? Because if you're starting, or, I guess, let's say fast forward, you already have debt. If you're able to get your own practice, the last thing you want to do is assume a lot of risk. So to keep your risk down, what you do is you end up trying to follow this circle or go in this group. And you pretty much end up doing what everybody else is doing. And yet at the same time, you're trying to balance that with this ideal of differentiation, right? And I don't know, I just think it's extremely difficult. And that's why my hat goes off to dentists. And that's really why I ended up forming Zana and coming up with what I did, was because so many of my dental friends were having like real issues with the business side of dentistry. And I would always ask them, I'm like, well, please tell me, like, someone on your team's got an MBA, right? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, well, tell me the highest level of education, whether it's your assistant or office manager, they must have some business degree. And they don't. And it's crazy because it's like you're running a business. So you have clinical excellence, and then you also have small business chaos. Bring that together. Dentistry's hard, right?
Shawn, that reminds me. So right when I was 25, right out of dental school, and I had the local newspaper, the Altoona Herald. They came and they interviewed me on site at my open house, and they said, so, to the readers, how would they know your practice is different from any other? And I responded, I don't know if it is.
Did they quote that?
I think so. And because I bet we need to find that. Because
that would be epic. That's such a great quote. How do you differentiate? I think we're the same.
Well, you know why? It was like, my thought too was like, can I even say that I'm, like different? And here's why. Can I say that I'm better? And even as, right out of school, a hometown guy coming back and being like, I'm supposed to say I'm better than the dentists that are already here. I was just like, I don't know if I am. And, if I am, I haven't had one day to prove it. So it just seemed so weird, to have, but what you were talking about reminded me like of a school of fish, and there's safety in going with the school. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, if someone said, well, how will I know which one is your house when all the houses in the neighborhood look the exact same, when you're the same fish in a school of fish? And that's when it reminded me of my story, being like, I don't know if you would know. It's the brown house, just like the 1,000 other brown houses. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It's just no difference. But then, Reagan, it reminds me of the difference that came about at the 14-ish year mark a couple years ago of my career. when I went out of network, and I was talking about zagging when other people zig and zigging when other people zag, because it reminded me of the school of fish going opposite of them. And you're going against the grain, and you're potentially going to get bit, but then you're also not flowing with the, the big fish biting into the school of fish. So,
14 years ago or so so I follow, marketing trends, obviously, and imagery, and my background was in graphic design predominantly 15 years ago. That was the era when all the big campaigns were running, and you saw the bowl with the goldfish, like jumping out of the bowl. And you saw the one fish swimming against the current. I mean, it really was a lot about being different. And I think we have
spotted zebra. Right.
Yeah, we have really evolved past. It's no longer about how you are different. It's actually more about what stories are you telling that are authentic, and letting people know who you are so that they can choose to be aligned with you specifically. And Chad, it's always been a hoot because I've said before, your brand is really about fun. Your personality is fun. So if you go to, if somebody goes to your practice and they really want a very serious, structured, rigid experience, that is not going to be a great fit for them. No. And that said, at the same time, you offer world-class dentistry. So you can also have fun and a world-class dental experience. And I think that's something that, really needs to be brought to the forefront. But Shawn, to your point, dentists are really exceptional at growing their craft and becoming really expert clinicians. They don't typically have the time or the resources to become experts in branding and marketing. And it is not intuitive to go hire an MBA, nor is it necessarily, appropriate
viable
for the overhead. Yeah. So from your non-dentist perspective, what kind of insight can you give dentists that they could be missing and they should be taking advantage of, even if they don't have that opportunity to bring in an MBA into the practice?
Yeah. So a few things, when you think about like differentiation, it doesn't mean you abandon best practices. So it's like, there's a whole bunch of best practices when you're following others that are safe, they're time tested, and it's just almost like the wisdom of the aggregate, what we've learned. Now, at the same exact time, Reagan, like what you were saying, that aggregate data isn't going to tell you how to practice dentistry your way. And that's where I also think there's a maturity to as you're going along. Everyone, when they start riding their bike, they should ride with training wheels. And then once the training wheels come off, you still ride fairly conventional. And not everyone arrives at the place where they're in a BMX park and they're actually experimenting to the limits of what you can do on a bicycle. In the same exact way, it's like if you're just getting into dentistry and you're laying a foundation, that's one thing. Follow best practices, follow those the wisdom that's out there. But at the same time, know that ultimate fulfillment and ultimate differentiation is going to come from finding out how you can align your unique self, like your personality, your outlook, your perspective, and infusing that into dentistry. Because if you don't, like the heart's going to be missing, right? And that's at the end of the day, what a person, so going back to the commodity thing, when a patient is looking at this new patient special, it's the mailbox moment that every patient experiences, and they see this rock bottom new patient special, and it's designed for one thing, it's just to break patient loyalty, right? They either think of your services as a commodity because nothing's that different. They don't feel like a person. They're not really engaged with your practice, or they see a face or a bunch of faces of your team. And if they see a face in their mind when they look at this other new patient special, you're not a commodity to them. You are actually practicing authentically because there's been connection. Like Chad, you are who you are, and you infuse that into your whole culture. And if someone doesn't like that or resonate, then they shouldn't stay with you. No, let them find a dentist that fits with them. But someone that does,
be the kind of guy that they want me to be. I want to be me.
Right. And if they connect to that, they're never going to leave you for something petty. At the end of the day, we're not trying to find a way to put a moat around our patients and never let them leave. But if we do great service and do great dentistry, you don't want someone to just leave because they they didn't feel connected. They experienced that feeling of indifference.
Right.
And aligning yourself with an authentic brand helps, a patient not feel indifferent when they interact with your practice.
Mm-hmm.
Shawn, there is elements of a brand that I think dental practices could definitely kind of put into buckets. You've got the visual elements of the brand. You've got your logo and your colors and what your office looks like and the naming conventions and all of those pieces. And then you have the intangible bucket, and that is the tonality and how you make people feel and the experience. And then you've got your systems and your processes, everything that kind of ties it together as glue, your onboarding process, offboarding, check-in process, all of those pieces to it. And it can be tricky to weave it together, but it doesn't have to be. Like when you mentioned the direct mailer piece and using photography, Chad, I love using you as a case study. It's really fun. In Chad's direct mailers, at least, right? The last one that I saw, because I get Chad's direct mailers shipped to Anacortes, Washington. I don't know if you ever knew that or not, but
no, I didn't. Actually.
Yeah, you use an image of yourself. So anybody listening, and it can feel overwhelming, Shawn, to be like, how can I be authentic? How can I, share my own personality and stuff? I like golden retrievers. What does that mean? Well, just put a picture of you with the golden retriever on the direct mailer. Chad has his family on the direct mailer. And to me, that's an authentic connection versus stock art connection that you see like on a billboard for a funeral home, and then it shows up, whoops, on your direct mailer. That's a terrible correlation. You just don't want to have those two things going together. We had over about 30 minutes away, there's two billboards that sit together, and one was a funeral home and the other was a casino advertising for fun. And it just blended together very poorly.
I can't believe how many people say, you know what, or even my wife when she's grocery shopping, they'll be like, are you Chad's wife? They'll be like, I haven't met you before, but like I get your mailers. and so I almost feel like I know you. Like I've been on your trips or wherever you guys get those pictures done and stuff. It's kind of funny like that.
That was some great insights into authenticity in dentistry. Now, I don't want to give too much away, but our next episode with Shawn may just shift how you think about even the seemingly smallest things in your practice. Until then, I want to leave you with a challenge. Go into the office and pull out some of the recent marketing pieces you've done and take a look at them. And I want you to answer this question. If I am a patient looking at this, am I seeing this dentist as a commodity or a partner to my health who I connect with on an individual basis? Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you for our next episode.